Hello friends of WildRift and welcome back to another RiftGuides episode, and today we're going to take a look at the high elo tier list for the current patch. But before we go into it, let's take a look at our question of the day. What are your thoughts on the Gragas buffs? Let me know in the comments below. First on our list comes Gragas in the Baron lane. This champion has been overbuffed for no reason and we still don't understand why Riot chose to do this, but well, we just love seeing Gragas because this champion is absolutely broken and what we love to see people explode within a second. Nonetheless, even though the buffs were primarily related to AP scaling on his abilities, there's something you can play this patch. It's the full tank, or rather off-tank Gragas. It's a fun and a sight to behold because you will just never die. But let's talk about Gragas in lane and why he's so prominent and powerful. Number 1, we could go Grasp of the Undying, which allows us to stack it on minions and then use it on an enemy champion with a quick trade, and Gragas loves quick trades. For laning, all he has to do is throw his first ability into the enemy's face on cooldown and poke him out. If that isn't enough, he can also make sure that if the enemy goes close to a last hit, to body slam them with a second ability and third ability in combination. That way he'll deal a significant amount of damage to the enemy and just walk it off shortly after. And the moment we hit level 5, well, the diving party commences, because the enemy cannot run from you anymore. If you have flash and they have flash, you'll always be able to go after them, so it doesn't really matter anymore. But the true beauty of a Gragas full tank or AP is team fighting. The one build just doesn't die and the other build instantly removes you from existence. If you've been a squishy and have faced an AP Gragas in the later stages of the game, you know what I'm talking about, because he just body slams into your face and you're dead. It's just how it goes and it's kinda weird to witness. The next pick I want to talk about is Xin Zhao in the jungle role. For all of you who love fighting, this champion is primarily thinking the same as Lee Sin, but different. Lee Sin is an overused, all-the-time play champion that we have seen enough of. We don't want to see a level 2 gank mid lane anymore, it's getting really boring. So what about a champion that hits level 3, ganks you, invades you, kills you, and most importantly in a teamfight completely obliterates you while not taking any type of damage? This champion is a so-called raid boss, and once he gets into the enemy and is getting fed, you will have no fun anymore. And if you struggle with jungling in general, like here's the rundown. All you have to do is do a full red side clear, red buff, Krugs, Raptors, and then do the crab. Then you can force fights around the map. You're not forced to full clear your jungle because it's kinda slow on your champion. Therefore you'll lose in tempo against champions like Morgana and Shyvana and Evelynn who just want to full clear. Against those champions you want to tactically invade and kill them in their jungle. This is something you have to really pay attention to because your champion loves killing people. Whenever you have the chance to do so, take it. Even if it's just diving or anything, you can just do it. And another trick is you can pre-stack your thirst ability on minions and then immediately dash onto the enemy champion when you're about to have the knock-up ready. That way you can remove counterplay, and even if they flash away, they'll still be knocked up after the flash because, well, that's how the mechanic works. Amazing, isn't it? Now we move over to the true beauty of this mid-lane patch. It's Orianna. Orianna has never been exactly bad, but has never been exactly super broken, apart from the very distant times. But given the changes to Conqueror and everything, she is now an ARI abuser. This bonus damage makes her lane kind of annoying to deal with. Another thing we have to also consider are the changes to the objective spawns. Because they're now spawning at 5 minutes, which means we have more time to accumulate gold, we are able to buy another starting item, which is the Sapphire Crystal. With the Sapphire Crystal, we can start stacking our mana in base already. The moment you buy it, you can start spamming spells in base and on the way to lane because your first ability barely costs any mana. With this in mind, you'll lose a little bit of damage in lane, but that's not too much, because keep in mind, the frequency at which you cast spells isn't so high early game, therefore the loss of AP will not do too much. Plus the auto-attack damage on the passive doesn't do too much because you won't be able to auto-attack as much as you believe you can. You are going primarily for short trades with an ARI auto-attack and then back off again, because with this, your scaling is kinda insane. You'll basically sit on the Sapphire Crystal and then complete Illudence immediately after. The idea behind this is to always have enough mana, because most of the time if you have the Illudence you just run out of mana immediately because, well, the mana pool is kinda low and junglers don't love giving you blue because, well, junglers. Let's talk about laning with Orianna. Orianna loves to punish the enemy with a ball. Think about placing your ball behind the enemy minions, so if you push the ball around, you're not actually pushing the wave on cooldown. This would make you vulnerable for a gank. Another thing you can do is, if you auto-attack the enemy champion, the minions will walk towards you. This is something you have to keep in mind whenever your wave is in a terrible spot. You can just manipulate it that way to get it closer to you to maybe have a chance of last-hitting it. Other than that, once you hit level 5, you can just literally use your ultimate onto the wave if you really need to. Don't shy away from doing so, because if you get caught with this champion, you will get behind so fast because you're running the champion rune. Unless you're facing a lot of champions that will build HP, then Giant Slayer will always be better because this rune has been overbuffed. So there we go. Here's the true beauty about Orianna. This champion becomes a menace as the game goes on. Mages are absolutely broken in this game and have no real competition once we hit the late game, because once they tag you, you evaporate, because their items are absolutely broken, and even if you build MR items, they can have up to like 55 to 56 magic pen, which by the way is the magic resistance any carry will have unless they itemize heavily into defenses, which they can't because we don't have the items for that. Amazing! Next up on this list comes Tristana. Tristana has received some buffs and still isn't the best champion, but AD carries are the best at abusing bad players. If you're the better player and know you're the better player because you're smurfing in a normal rank queue, because challenger in a normal rank queue is like nothing in legendary queue, and legendary queue itself is just a joke in a sense of skill competition, because well, in the early stages of the legendary queue you climb with 33%. Nonetheless, if you know you are the better player, you can literally be like Super Mario and jump on those Goombas with Tristana. That is what she loves doing the most. She has insane burst damage, and especially on level 5 she literally one-taps you. There are even some builds around where Tristana goes electrocute to really put emphasis on the one-shot. I don't recommend that though, but you can still explore it if you really want to. Nonetheless, here are a few things you need to understand. Your bomb is your primary source of damage. Plus, your bomb is stacked with spells, so if you jump onto an enemy champion with your second ability, it adds a stack to the bomb. The same thing applies to your ultimate ability. So your second ability and your ultimate ability grant 2 stacks to your bomb, which means if you think about this and calculate the stacks correctly, you can throw an enemy into the entirety of the enemy team with fully stacked bomb and then just send them into the next season. And now we come to the support lux. We all know that Ruby Crystal is a broken item on Enchanter supports, and I'll tell you again, it is absolutely broken. So for this specific Lux build, you'll start with a Ruby Crystal and start with your second ability. The main goal of this is to just run at the enemy and beat them up with auto attacks abusing Airy as your rune. If you do this and you're pre-made with your AD carry, you'll see it's absolutely busted because the HP you get from this is roughly equal to another Ruby Crystal on top, which means your HP pool is absolutely inflated and the enemy can't really do anything about it. Afterwards you skill your third ability, and after that your first ability. And then it's all the time about proccing your passive, or rather weaving your passive after every spell hit with your auto attacks, and then as we hit late game or even level 5, once you hit somebody with your binding, the person will most likely die. Lux is a non-committal and risk-free champion that just loves to dominate people, especially if they make mistakes.